Hey there, welcome back to Boards 2D. I'm Kurt, and today we're making a pretty awesome Maker coin for Maker Central 2019. Let me start by just saying that I am making this project in particular as a tribute for Maker Central 2019 and to give as a gift for a few friends of mine and makers, YouTubers that I admire, and basically they inspire me to come in my shop and make stuff. This project was truly a fusion of so many different techniques. We've used 3D modeling, 3D printing, resin casting, spray painting, masking, leather working, all to create this tiny token. This will be given out to a few friends of mine and makers that I admire from YouTube at Maker Central 2019. Maker coins are very interesting. I've done a video on Maker coins before, but it's a very simple technique. It's a very simple token that you can make, and you can make it as simple and as intricate, or as intricate as much as you want. So go on your computer, start designing by using Fusion 360 or any 3D modeling software, and just go and print a token. If you don't have a printer, nowadays 3D printers are very accessible, so I'm sure you have a friend, or perhaps you can use one at your local library or school. So yeah, give this thing a go. Let's see how we made this one. Most of my 3D printing projects start with Fusion 360. They're not sponsoring this video, but it's still a great tool to use, especially as it's free for students. There are other 3D modeling programs available that you can use, so pick your favorite one and get started. For this Maker coin, I didn't want to give priority to the Boards 3D logo. Instead, I wanted to make a gift that would represent my identity and my home country of Malta. A typical Maltese icon is the 8-pointed cross, which represents the Knights of St. John, or as they're more colloquially known, the Knights of Malta. I designed an octagonal coin with a large recess in the middle. I toyed with some ideas, but eventually went back to an octagonal recess just to match the design I was going for. I then designed and extruded the 8-pointed cross from the center of the coin. I went back to make it look a bit sharper, then engraved my logo at the back of the coin. Off to the printer, and it made short work of this design. Once again, Prusa isn't sponsoring this video either, but the i3 Mark III printer is way too great not to give credit to. I sanded all the surfaces of the coin to remove most of the print lines. Since this printed upright, it was quite easy to remove the layers from the back of the coin, but a bit more difficult on the inside of the recessed area and on the cross. Here's what it looks like after 180 grit sandpaper. It looks smooth enough to work with, but not perfect for a final product. I thought of using resin in this project. Since I barely ever use resin in my projects, adding acrylic color to it was a first, so I was a bit skeptical about it. I added way too much paint to the resin, but it was not actively diffusing into the liquid as I poured it, so I thought it was not going to mix well. I've had this paint for quite some time now, and I was a bit doubtful about it. In fact, I soon found out. Yeah, I was impressed. The red was bright and vivid, and the video doesn't do it justice. Once I was sure the paint was mixed in well, I started pouring the resin into the recess of the coin. This was a bit tougher than I anticipated, as the cup had no spout to pour from. I had to go slow and steady, as tipping the cup too far forward pushed too much of the resin at once, and my goal was to not cover the cross at all if possible. The first couple flowed all over the place, but eventually I got the hang of it and poured a few good ones as well. I let them settle for a bit, used a barbecue lighter to pop any surface bubbles. I was careful not to heat up the plastic too much, as PLA, polylactic acid, the printing material, has a relatively low melting temperature, but I didn't want to deform it or burn it. Here's how they looked after I was done. I wanted to store these coins in a leather sleeve, and lately I'm passing through a leather working phase, so I got some scrap pieces of leather, which I've had for a couple of years, and thought to put them to good use. I roughly measured the coin and cut leather accordingly. I thought I was leaving enough space within, but I had to go back and redo these. In any case, the technique was adequate for the result I was hoping for, but I used the same technique to make the other ones as well. I scored the line using a pencil so that I would know where to glue and sew later. I used contact glue along the two edges of the leather piece and left it to dry until it was tacky, but not wet. Once done, I folded the leather so that the glue made contact with itself and formed a pocket. I hammered it for good measure, but it held just fine on its own. I used a 4-in-1 punch along the pencil score I made earlier, and made a line of holes through which I would stitch. Leather is usually too tough to go through with just a needle, so it needs to be punched before. I used 2 large needles tied to a long thread and sewed a double running stitch, I think. I basically passed both needles in each hole opposite each other. I made sure to tighten the thread every other hole to make sure I have a tight stitch, which won't come loose with time. To finish off, instead of tying a knot at the end of the stitch, I didn't want it to look so rough. I doubled back and went through the last 3 holes in reverse order. This makes sure that the thread tightens on itself and doesn't come loose. By the way, the vise is a great third hand when you're stitching leather. The resin hardens over 24 hours, but I let this one sit for about 2 days to make sure it's completely cured. Now, the last time I was in the shop, I poured the epoxy and I am not super happy with the results. The first couple were understandably quite poor. Resin overflowed a bit, I didn't pour it slowly enough or thinly enough. And the last couple came out okay, they came out much better, but they still have some unacceptable mistakes. Now, these are gifts I want to give to some of my idols on YouTube, other great makers out there. So I really want to show them my appreciation by really putting my heart and soul into this project. So yeah, we're going to try and get rid of the resin. I have no idea how, let's try to figure it out. I tried using small files and thin strips of sandpaper, but in the end, the knife did the best job as the resin was thin enough on the surface to peel off without much trouble. Okay, so I think I managed to do something. As you just saw, I was scraping it a bit off with the knife and sanding them with 220 grit sandpaper. And first of all, it has a very smooth finish. I really like that. And it did get rid of most, it got rid of most of the resin there. It's still not perfect, so I'm going to go a step further and mask the resin, hopefully mask the resin, and spray paint it white. And white and red is the official color of the flag, of the Maltese flag. So it's very thematic, I think. So yeah, let's try that out. I masked the face of the coin, covering the cross as well. I would later go back and cut the cross out as well to make sure it would get spray painted as well. But I also made sure to expose all the plastic bits of the coin so that they would get painted over. I started from the opposite side of the coin, from the bottom. I use white acrylic spray paint as I've had a good experience with such paints on 3D prints. I did not have time to use multiple thin coats, so a thick generous spraying had to do. I also used my trusty heat gun on low setting to dry the paint faster. Always remember to wear a mask when spray painting and only do so in a well ventilated area. Once dry, I flip them over and carefully, very carefully, cut out the cross from under the masking tape. I use a precision knife or X-Acto knife with a surgical tip to make sure I cut right up to the cross. And then painted the rest white as well, using my heat gun for quick drying. Once that was dry as well, I used a precision knife again to remove the remaining masking tape and expose the red resin underneath, and man, I was impressed. So I'm finally finished and the project is done. I had to make a quick change to the pouches. This one, the first one that I made on video, turned out to be a bit too small for the maker coin, so I made these instead. So these have various techniques really, but at the core is just contact cement with a couple of scrap pieces of leather actually. I believe this is real leather. It was just scrapped and given to me for free by a local upholsterer, which is great. I've had this bag of scrap leather for years now, and I've made even my first project, which was a replica, 3D printed replica of the steel Warhammer from Skyrim. Anyway, but the point is, there are several ones. I used a hand stitching technique. The one you've seen before is just the same. I used riveting techniques. All the lines at the end, all the edges have been glued with contact cement, something similar to barge. This one's a bit squarish. Made another one with rivets, slightly larger rivets. This one with eyelets, so you could pass a string through or whatever. And this one is just the simplest version, which is just contact glue, and it's just hammered a bit shut. I used the hammer just to make it close a bit better. It's not the first time I designed and 3D printed maker coins before. In fact, I've given out a couple of them last year at Maker Central as well. I've made a couple of iterations since then, but this I think is by far the coolest one I ever made. I don't know, it's something about it. It's just the red and the white, it's very Maltese. The 8-pointed cross, and also it's just the resin is so amazing. I love it. I've used this art resin a bit before and I've had mixed feelings about it, but this time it just once I let it cure properly, it's just so amazing. And I think the secret was mixing it well as well. When I made the Infinity Stone for the Eye of Agamotto, you'll find the link right there. I don't think I mixed it well enough and it was a bit gummy. Now this is completely solid, it's completely hardened, and I'm very happy with the results. Now this project has truly been a fusion of so many different techniques that I've learned from a lot of other YouTubers. So I'm really glad they came out looking the way they did. I'm super glad that I went a bit more, I went the extra mile, and I spray painted the PLA rather than leaving it as it is, and fixing the resin and everything. So I'm really happy with the result. With this maker coin finished, I am completely ready and prepared to go to Maker Central 2019, and I really hope to see you there as well. You can follow me on my social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All the links are down in the description below, or you can also visit my website board2d.net. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with more of my projects. Like the video if you did, enjoy it, and leave a comment maybe to tell me what I could have done better, maybe how to do it a bit better next time. As always, just as I have been inspired by other makers out there to come in my shop, make something, hope that you too can make something, because everyone is a maker.